If you don't have a man, you ain't nothing.
How dare you say that we are not interested in families in the Black community?
JLY. I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them.
JLY. JLY.
beat.
Hey yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Ayo, Quantic, run them bands up.
Guess it's about time we start the show up. Mic check, mic check. Shout out to everybody in the audience, man. SKC, we're gonna talk about that civil rights dip in a minute too, I guess. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the show, everybody. Appreciate all the early birds in here. We're gonna get going. Shout out to all the memberships going out right now, man. Deacon Dave, the Midwest Request. You guys been gifting memberships. It's always Christmas around here, man. You guys been gifting memberships lately. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for all the support. It means a lot over here. We are really, I personally think this newly monetized venture is off to a great start, and I can't get to where I need to be without you guys. So thank you so much. Free Zone Lou just joined the club. Welcome to the church, brother. Welcome to the church. Please take your seats. We are gathered here today to talk about some pressing national issues, as we do over here from time to time. I wanted to do this show yesterday, but I got caught up having a really good day, actually, and I just couldn't pull myself away. Just totally unplanned. I wound up spending a couple of hours with my oldest daughter. We were just driving around. Well, she was driving because she needs her practice and all. And didn't even plan on seeing her at all. I was actually coming around to go see her little brother, my son. But things just got switched at the last minute. So I wound up giving some driving lessons. And we were driving around. We had dinner and we talked, well, lunch or whatever. We talked and we drove. And we talked about a lot of things. And it's interesting because this conversation about, I guess natalism is the word for it. The idea of, keeping the birth rate up and being focused on birth rates in a roundabout way. We even kind of talked about this stuff too. It was on my mind, I guess, because I was already queuing up for a show on this and I just had to push it back. But I'm talking to my daughter. She's, on the edge of 18, right? It's like in the visible range right now. She's so close to 18. And we talked about a lot of things, Bible, church, morals. And then eventually we got around to women are the only ones who actually could have the babies, right? Like there's no other way around it. If you guys have a solution to that, please let me know. I am all ears. I hear the best minds at Dell Labs and Intel and whatnot are working on a solution. But as far as we know, as a species, women are the only ones who can have the babies. That actually means a lot if you think about the grand scheme of things. Because since women are the only ones who can have the babies, it almost requires a level of restriction on the woman because you have to protect the future, no? Isn't that what it's all about? Isn't today always about tomorrow? At least if you're a thinking sort of person. Not everyone thinks. Not everyone wants to get to the top of the mountain so they can see what's in the valley below. Not everyone thinks like that, but You and I, everyone listening, we are all here today, right now, in this moment together because people who came before us actually thought like that. People who came before us actually imagined a tomorrow. And this actually kind of came up too in the conversation I'm having with my young daughter on the edge of adulthood. The idea of perhaps owing a debt because of what was done in the past. You owe a debt to the future because of the labor that was done in the past on your behalf. And as men and women, we have different roles in the society. One of the ways that women kind of fulfill that debt, that obligation, is carrying children. And again, if men could, we maybe would. I don't think we should. It all sounds weird and creepy, but we are where we are right now. The women have to carry the children. What other way is there? And because the women carry the children, the men take on, honestly, all kinds of other obligations. And I was saying earlier, on another stream, really talking about modern society, it's only men who actually truly have obligations anymore. Women have this ever increasing list of privileges, but men, we have obligations. We have firm, punishable, enforced obligations. And we're entering this conversation now about the birth rate collapse and what that means for the country. And even, I suppose, we'll get into the whole point about the white birth rate in particular and what that even means for the country. Like, does America need more white babies in particular? Like, not just any old babies. We're shopping for a particular brand here. You know what I mean? Need a certain type of baby. Looking for the Oshkosh Bagosh baby. You know what I mean? We're looking for the Gerber babies. But either way, there is an obligation that must be filled because the men simply can't have the babies. And what that means in a grander, larger context, right? If you think about where we've come from and where we are right now, one of the words that kind of encompasses a lot of the changes that have happened over, I don't know, the last 75, 80 years is feminism. We are all living under increasing levels and weights of feminism. And the problem that feminism can never address really is who is actually supposed to, who is literally obligated to carry the next generation forward. Like, what's the point of liberating women if we're going to crash society ultimately anyway? What is the point of women's liberation if the ultimate conclusion is we implode society? We are at this point now. We are at this philosophical precipice where we have to ask the question. We freed women from their theoretical, metaphorical, patriarchal shackles. Let them roam the wild. Stott night every night. It's Taco Tuesday all the time now. And as a country, as a nation, we are kind of asking the question, or at least some of us, the people who can count and do math and think about big picture stuff, we are kind of asking the question, was feminism even worth it? You know, we talk about liberalism a lot over here and how we question the very essence of liberalism and all that. And under the umbrella of liberalism, there's feminism. And was feminism even worth it? And freeing women and giving women all this opportunity and tilting, honestly, the playing field so that women could take advantage of all of this alleged opportunity, and bolstering women at every opportunity we could think of. At every step in the road, we try to smooth the path for women. We try to nudge things along, cushion the blow. We do all these things. We've almost, and this meme I got up here is actually perfect. I couldn't have made a better meme because I was literally describing the government like this, exactly this way. We have a government now that literally exists to make women's lives easier. And is it worth it? Has it been worth it? Have we gained anything worthwhile and the quote unquote liberating of women? I know, right? It's not a question we should even be asking, right? Don't you want your mom to be liberated? What about happiness, right? You know, I was talking to my daughter about women's obligations, the idea that we owe a debt to the future because of the past, and that's also part of why men and women, you know, marriage, that traditional idea of marriage is actually a good idea, because you're supposed to stick it out, you're supposed to work together. And then she hits me with the whole, you know how women are, she hits me with the happiness thing. Well, what if you're just not happy? You know, mind you, this isn't like my oldest daughter, and she's mentally probably more like me than the other two, and it just tickles my spirit every time we have these kind of conversations, because she tries me. She really tries me intellectually, and I love that about her. And she's like, what about happiness? And it's like, oh, little girl, what do you know about happiness? Happiness is a drug high. Happiness is what crack addicts chase. Happiness is chasing the dragon. Chasing happiness is chasing the dragon. And chasing happiness is that thing where it's the reason why we have this phenomenon of women initiating divorce at like 80%. Because we have women chasing the dragon. It's all about happiness. What about happiness? I want to be happy. Daddy, I want to be happy. Oh, shut up. Little kids, you don't know nothing. And so because women want to be happy, we're not raising children anymore. And eventually, and here's the killer. Here's the killer of it all, right? The liberal solution to the birth crisis is importing the various members of the third world and then letting gay couples adopt the spare children of the third world people that we imported. Swear to God, that's what this Pete Buttigieg meme is actually about. Because I got a clip from Pete Buttigieg. We're going to bring this up in a minute. But Pete Buttigieg was over on his show. I forget which podcast, but he was talking to the boys because, you know, Democrats, they're trying to get down on the podcast and prove that they can bro it up like any other bro. And so Pete Buttigieg, the gay bro, he was talking to the boys over there about his gay adoption process. And he said something interesting about black babies. I was like, whoa. Not sure if I like the implications of that, sir. But that's how the liberals want to solve the birth crisis. They believe in immigration and letting the gay couples adopt all the spare kids. You notice how when all the women in Hollywood adopt a kid, it's usually like a black African kid, especially the ones that get transgendered. You know, the implications of it all really, really bug me. You know, and speaking of my daughter, we were talking so long yesterday. We talked about like homosexuality and all that. And I pointed out to her, like, you know, doesn't actually produce the one thing that we are kind of hardwired to produce as a biological organism, right? Like every biological organism is kind of hardwired to reproduce, and two boys just can't make it work. There's no magic there. It takes a man and a woman to make that kind of magic. You know, two boys ain't really, they're just not magical. There's nothing magical about two boys. There's a little magic that happens between a man and a woman. There's literally like a spark that emanates when the sperm hits the egg. There's like a burst of light. It's like the moment where a soul is created or enters our physical realm, however you want to put it together. No magic when two boys meet up. It's all witchcraft. It's all demon worship. You gotta have these kind of talks with your children. I'm trying to tell you. At the very least, you will enjoy it. And they'll probably come away from it with some kind of wisdom they won't get in school. I know her mom isn't trying to explain to her the darker realities of how life really works. You know, girls just want to have fun, you know? But yeah, we had an interesting talk. So I put all I put all today's show off because, you know, I got busy having a really good day yesterday. Shout out to parenting. Sometimes it's really, really sweet.
Elon Musk, among others, has declared that falling birth rates are a bigger risk to civilization than global heating or global warming. Nigel Farage has suggested that the West has forgotten what underpins everything is our Judeo-Christian culture, and that, of course, we need higher birth rates. So what is going to help you in your 20s or you in your 30s to have children? In steps Donald Trump, a man who wants to, in his own words, be the fertilization president. The US is looking at offering
All right, fertilization president is a little much. I don't know who on Trump's PR team is responsible for that little one, but that no. Fertilization president sounds like Trump wants to reinstate prima nocta. Like Trump is gonna make sure you get her done. All right, one way or another, we're gonna get her done. If I have to do it my damn self, we're gonna get her done. Okay, fertilizer in chief out here. That is wild, bro. Shout out to True Hype with the $2 super chat. He says two boys meeting just sounds nasty. Yeah, there's no fertilization there. Nothing to fertilize. Birds and the bees just looking around like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, there's literally nothing for me to do here. The pelican is like, somebody call me for nothing. I was told I was supposed to deliver a baby out of this. I was supposed to take a baby away from this. Shout out to True Hype with the $2 super chat.
$1,000. A man who wants to, in his own words, be the fertilization president. The US is looking at offering $5,000 to every American mother after they have given birth, a kind of baby bonus. According to the New York Times, Donald Trump's aides are mulling a series of incentives to encourage women to have more children and push conservative family values. Proposals include a National Medal of Motherhood to mums with 6 or more children, and giving every American mother
a Medal of Motherhood is interesting if it comes with like a cash bonus and maybe like a little club membership. Like every year you put on a party or something for these specific women. You know, the husbands have to stay home with the children. You know, you pay for it all, right? You put the husbands in a hotel or something like that. But you put on a party just for like 5 to 10 women across the country who have been married, because I'm not going to stay out of the marriage thing. Trump is tripping without mentioning marriage. But if you select 5 to 10 women who are married and they've had like the most children or something like that, or like some kind of way their children are just outstanding or their motherhood is spectacular. And then you make a party for them, live stream it, put it on NBC or what is it, the morning show or whatever, ABC, whatever that. No, NBC, yeah, morning show, the breakfast show, whatever that stupid show is. That's the only way to make it work. You got to boost the chick's ego. You got to make the chicks want it because chicks want to be celebrated, so you got to celebrate them.
To the New York Times, Donald Trump's aides are mulling a series of incentives to encourage women to have more children and push conservative family values. Proposals include a National Medal of Motherhood to mums with 6 or more children, and giving every American mother $5,000 after delivery. Also discussed was
literally shaking. All right, it doesn't matter where the great ideas come from. All right, I don't. Why do you gotta be that guy? All right, literally shake. I'm literally shaking right now. Why you gotta be that guy? All right, it doesn't really matter where the best ideas in the world actually come from. Like maybe we'll build an Audubon too. Does it even matter where the good ideas come from? You being like an idea snob right now. Being very snobbish about your excellent ideas, bro.
Include a National Medal of Motherhood to mums with 6 or more children, and giving every American mother $5,000 after delivery. Also discussed was funding for programs to educate women on their menstrual cycles so they can better understand when they are ovulating. Put those bits to one side for a minute.
Do women even really need menstrual? Like that's basically middle school health class. Like, do women need help actually getting pregnant? I don't mean like the physical act of it. Like, I mean, I'm here to help, by the way, if that's really, your thing. Jokes. I got enough problems in my life. I don't really, I vowed years ago to never help a random woman ever again. So, but the question still stands. I think women need encouragement. I think you got to make mom cool. You got to make motherhood cool again. We need motherhood propaganda. But not just any kind of motherhood propaganda. We need married motherhood propaganda, Let's just assume she's a housewife and there's a guy off at work making all these wonderful TikToks. This is a great classic song, by the way. I kind of hate modern music because I feel like we don't make timeless music anymore. Or maybe that's even a function of living in like high-speed modernity. We are incapable of making timeless classics, really. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just pontificating, but it's a great song, though. Oh, get out of here. True Hype with the $5 super chat. He says they are trying out an Audubon-style roadway in Texas with no speed limit. Texas is the best place to even try something like that because there's a little swath of Texas, like the widest measurable part of Texas from east to west, like right under the I guess that little northern peninsula part. Yeah, I guess you can Audubon that part of Texas right there. But you know who's gonna mess it up, bro? If Texas had like Rhode Island's demographics, it would probably be cool. But between the Jordans and the burritos, you know who's gonna mess it up, bro. You know that Texas Audubon is gonna be highway to hell in no time. But shout out to True Hype. Thank you for the super chat.
I need that money.
We need baby making lore. But I keep saying baby making because baby making isn't really the problem. Because I think about the black music of my youth. like that 90s era. And the early and mid 90s were really the almost a golden age of Black R&B. And one of the things I realized about my particular era of music, and this was kind of prevalent in a lot of music, but it kind of was just out there by the time I came of age. A lot of Black music was literally baby making music, right? And I'm trying to maintain my status here without getting all nasty about it, but there's a lot of nasty Black songs out there back in the day. We literally, I don't see nothing wrong, oh, with a little bump and grind. Like, that was not a song about a man and his wife, right? That was not a song about a husband and a wife sharing marital bliss, right? We really weren't focused on the marital bliss part of that, right? We were just focused on the bump and grind part of it all. And so the baby making thing, I don't think women really need all that much help with the actual making of the babies, because the encouragement is really what I think. We had a lot of encouragement to make the babies. We had a lot of Black songs back in the day that would just straight up let's just we don't really have straight up love songs like that anymore. Like Usher, years ago, I remember he had this one song and it was like a hit too. You might even hear it if you go to clubs. I don't know, I don't go to clubs no more, but he had that one song, I want to make love in this club. Hey, that was literally the lyrics. How do you make love in a club? I mean, if love making is even a thing, but how can you do it in a club? Like, can't do it, man. Can't. There's just something missing about it. And really, I guess what I'm complaining about is the lack of love in the music, because love is really a thing that leads to marriage, technically, right? Or ideally. And the love songs back in the day were about men and women actually pairing up and marrying to a large degree. It wasn't really about, hey, you look good on this dance floor. Let's go in the bathroom and talk it out. It wasn't really like that. And now we've kind of pushed past that era even to somehow we got into a place where the women don't even really want to actually like have the babies. They want to have the the hoochie coochie. They want to do all the things, but they don't want to actually do that last thing and have the baby. They want to do all the other things. That's what's crazy about like women in the modern world. They want to do all the things except the one thing that actually makes men love women, right? All the other things makes men lust after women. But the idea of that one final thing, like literally one job, like you see this woman on the screen right here, she is basking in that one job. And that's technically the one job that actually makes us love you. We say we love you when we're, waist deep in the flesh, because what else are we supposed to say in that kind of moment? But that's not really what produces the love, right? It's coming home and watching this, like coming home from your crappy day at work, coming home from 8 hours of the world hates you and I want to die, and you walk through the door and you get to watch this for a little while. This makes us love you. But you're too good for that. You're all too good for that now. You're all too good. You want to go to school. You want to get a job. You want to work 8 hours a day for some stranger. You want to drink Starbucks and sip lattes and take selfies and post Instagram photos. You're all too good for that. And now we don't love each other anymore. Don't blame me. Don't shoot the messenger. I just talk about it on YouTube.
Trump was scoping out the White House lawn today. He's about to erect the biggest flag you've ever seen.
We're putting up a beautiful almost 100-foot tall American flag on this side and another one on the other side, 2 flags, top of the line, paid for by Trump.
Trump isn't just filling up the White House with beautiful flags. He wants to fill the country with beautiful babies. Not personally, but he's chewing on a new idea. Baby bonuses for new moms. You get $5,000 when you deliver a newborn.
Mr. President, there are reports that you're considering doing something for moms across the country, giving them some type of bonus so that they have
Were you considering that? Or? Sounds like a good idea to me.
Trump's trying to pump up our birth rates. It's in dire straits. We're at 1.6 births per woman, but need to be at around 2.1 to keep the country alive.
You know, I love when I have these conversations because, like, I literally explain birth rate math to my daughter because, you know, who else is going to tell your young child these things, right? Who else is going to explain to my cusp of adulthood daughter birth rate math? All she has right now is girl math. This is real math. This is the type of math that keeps everything going. Girl math is what you use when you're going out to the clubs. This is what the math that makes everything work, okay? It actually takes each man and woman having not one child between them, not 2 children between them. 2 children is just that stability level. And technically, you'd still be shrinking from attrition, but each man and woman together has to make at least 3 children. That is birth rate math. That's birth rate math. And no, I don't black pill my daughter, not at all. I'm trying to give her fact pills. And I've thought about that. I hesitate at just how much knowledge to share with the children because they're children. They're, you know, I only have one that's even close to adulthood, right? So they're children. And so I'll black pill them when they're like 30 or something.
The ladies of The View are insulted.
All right, what man over 40 doesn't know how women's bodies work? And then honestly, if you've been with enough women, sometimes you know her body better than she does. Look, sit back. Let me show you something.
Know what $5,000 is supposed to do, and it's not even $5,000 because you have to cut it in half because you got to pay taxes on it.
So the millionaire thinks free money for new moms is insulting. I thought Democrats wanted the government to help families. I guess I'm wrong. Chuck Todd sides with Whoopi. He says, we don't need to make babies here in America. We could just open the border. Because without immigrant babies, we'll never win another Olympics.
And I already told you the Democrats plan for immigrant babies, right? Because immigrants have a lot of children, so there's going to be leftovers. And you know, because the LGBT couples, some of them want to experience the joys of parenthood, and they can't technically get it together, and they'll need to adopt some of the extras from the immigrants. They got it all worked out.
He's trying to figure out ways to convince people to have more babies, to solve a demographic problem that we're running on, rather than do what America has done for basically 250 years, which is invite people to emigrate to this country. Just look at the Olympics every 2 years now. You know why America does so well in the Olympics? Because we haven't pigeonholed ourselves into one ethnicity or one demographic group.
You know the funny thing about that, though? It does look strange when the German Olympic soccer team is all from Nigeria and Ghana, Senegal, or whatever. It does look a tad odd when the French Olympic basketball team is entirely African. I mean, did you actually win a gold medal for France or Germany under those circumstances? It just doesn't feel true.
We won plenty of Olympics before Biden opened the border. Michael Phelps didn't swim across the Rio Grande. Bruce Jenner didn't pole vault over the wall. Jesse Owens didn't run from Tijuana to Texas. But Chuck Todd thinks Kilmar would have medaled if Trump didn't deport him. Bearded Pete Buttigieg is making the rounds, talking about his adopted kids. Sorry, Pete. The $5,000 baby stimmy is only for moms.
We wanted to adopt. We said that we wanted to adopt without regard for race. By the way, anybody who says race is not a thing in this country should experience an adoption process where there are literally different lists. If you say that you want a white kid only versus if you say that doesn't matter. Like literally a different list.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
The list for a white kid only is longer. And not only that, there was actually a discount, or you didn't have to pay a deposit on the fee.
Discounts.
This is like how it works.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
You know, in some ways, I'm thankful for Pete Buttigieg revealing the black baby discount, and knowing that there are a lot of married homosexual men like Pete. What was the other guy who used to work for TYT, and now he's kind of got his own show? I know he just kind of air quotes adopted a child, but you know, there's a lot of money involved. So I like to think of it as a cash purchase. And it's weird because, you know, I wasn't the best student. Like technically I dropped out and then dropped back in later. But even though I wasn't the best student, I distinctly remember we outlawed the buying and selling of black babies. We had like this big fight about it. Like people were like, you know, pew-pewing at it. You know, there was like this whole thing. And now here I find out there is actually not only basically a purchasing system for babies in general, but black babies in particular are on a discount. It's wild.
If you say that doesn't matter.
Wow.
Like literally a different list.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
The list for a white kid only is longer. And not only that, there was actually a discount, or you didn't have to pay a deposit on the fee.
There's no deposit for the melanated baby. You don't have to pay a deposit, so they just know, like, all right, well, if you say you can't get this black, you must really want this baby. And then knowing that, you know, two men in love are like the new rage when it comes to adoption, I wonder how many black babies will find themselves in the loving home of two newly married men. Implications.
This is like how it works. I couldn't believe it.
Trump's just trying to encourage domestic baby production, but Democrats want to offshore it like they did with our factories. 47's reorganizing our society to make it easier to have babies and find a good job. We've been heading in the wrong direction for decades. College has trained young women to think the nuclear family's bad, and it's not worth bringing new life into the world because of the climate. DC sold out our...
And this is why I'm having these almost black pill conversations with my oldest daughter, because she's off to college soon. And I know that's where the dark magic happens. You have to put, at least plant some seeds of logic and reality in them, and give them something to arm themselves against the dark forces of the American university system. Because there be monsters there.
Our workers and the rest of us just got hooked on cheap Chinese junk. And listen, cheap stuff's good, but at what cost? Now we have a choice. Do you want cheap sneakers or a good paying job, nice house, and big, beautiful family?
I think Americans do over-consume a lot of crap. I think cheap goods aren't necessarily the highest organizing principle of life. I think people have been sold the idea that cheap goods are more important than having a stable, functioning job and family.
You know, he's kind of it reminds me of my whole question about feminism and women's rights and all. Like, is it really worth it? You know, is that little made in China tag really worth it? Knowing that it cost us like an entire swath of an American region, right? Like we call it the Rust Belt. But in practicality, that is futures dashed. That is families shattered. That is generations that were stopped from happening. And is that little made in China tag really worth it?
I want to see my friends work in factories. I want them to get hurt. I want to release the safety standards. I want child labor. Children are terrorists, many of them. You should destigmatize being an electrician, a plumber, a contractor, all these things that when I was told, you know, when I was growing up, they point to a guy doing construction and go, you're going to do that if you don't do your homework. And then the people that did their homework are all, you know, bankrupt. And that construction guy, you know, is killing it. He's doing pretty well.
You know, one other thing that I talked to my daughter about, and this is a little bit more difficult because I'm not completely like from say like a pastor's type of knowledge. I'm not well versed in that sense, but I have an intuitive, I suppose, understanding of the Bible and spiritual principles and Christian principles. You know, I have some deeper knowledge of how these principles are argued. You know, the apologia, as it were. I have some understanding of that, and we talked about this. This meme is just killing me right now because this is literally what I was just talking about with the 50% off Black baby adoption. And biblical Christian morality kind of warns you about this sort of thing, right? It's one thing to say that, you know, they just want to be happy. They just want to be happy, right? Look, they just happy. And so, you know, people chasing happiness, again, it's a crack high. Chasing happiness is chasing the dragon. And when it comes to this particular hunt for happiness, there are implications that don't really get discussed on the front end, right? Your quest for happiness actually stops in places that might give the common listener pause. And so when we talk about things like the Christian values, one of the things I was pointing out to my daughter was that religion in general is a vehicle to just transmit in a short, simple manner basic concepts and practical concepts and values. And even without simply saying God just tells you to, there is a practical reason for avoiding certain behavior, like what we see right here. There is a practical reason to avoid things like that, right? And I was the kind of person who I needed more than just, you know, well, God said so, right? Because my mind is too inquisitive. You know, what if you're lying about God? What if God isn't real? What if God doesn't care? Like I had too many questions. So I needed a more practical explanation for it. And so things like this make it real for you. When you understand, it's like, oh, so if you make that okay, well, you're probably gonna make this okay too. And then, you know, it starts to get weird. So you want to cut it off way before it starts to get weird. And one of the things that have been happening, especially under the Biden administration, was an outright government suppression of the Christian faith in particular, not just religion as a concept, but the Christian religion, right? Like Islam is cool, Judaism is cool, all the other chicks naked in the forest worshiping Shangri-La, whatever her name is, they're cool, but Christianity apparently you guys were like terrorists or something. And so Trump is putting an end to all of that.
Thank you all for joining us today. We're excited to be here for the launch of the task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias as outlined in the President's executive order. Joining me today are members of the task force and individuals who have been impacted by the anti-Christian bias. Together, this task force will identify any unlawful anti-Christian policies, practices, or conduct across the government, seek input from the faith-based organizations and state governments to end anti-Christian bias, find and fix deficiencies in existing and regulatory practices that might contribute to the anti-Christian bias. As President Trump has stated, the Biden administration engaged in an egregious pattern of targeting peaceful Christians while ignoring violent anti-Christian offenses. The president is right. Biden's Department of Justice abused and targeted Christians. Pro-life Christians were arrested and imprisoned for peacefully praying outside abortion clinics. The FBI spied on traditional Catholics in their parishes. President Biden declared Easter Sunday to be Transgender Day of Visibility. No longer.
See, when they do stuff like that, that's how you know it's not an accident. That's how you know, oh, like they really trying to, y'all like trolling my religion. How come my particular faith is the only one that gets trolled like that? That's crazy. How come I'm getting trolled by the federal government?
Vandalism against churches was 8 times higher in 2023 than it was in 2018. And it's at President Trump's directive, we ended those abuses at the Department of Justice on day one. We dropped 3 ongoing cases against pro-lifers and redefined the FACE Act to ensure that abuse would not continue and that American tax dollars were not used to support the weaponization of our legal system to target Christians. Just a few weeks ago, we convicted a man in Arizona for a plot to bomb Christian churches. The Department of Justice will protect religious liberty for Christians and for all Americans. We'll work closely with everyone around this table and take a whole of government approach to solving this problem and ultimately protect Americans' First Amendment rights. The First Amendment isn't just a line in the Constitution, it's the cornerstone of our American liberty. It guarantees every citizen the right to speak freely, worship freely, and live according to their conscience without government interference. Protecting Christians from bias is not favoritism, it's upholding the rule of law and fulfilling the constitutional promise.
And you know, the thing about faith and the point and purpose of religion in a particular group is that it provides a social reinforcement for the things that the group actually needs to do to survive. And we've kind of abandoned traditional faith as a country, and we've kind of given way to like this neo faith, this liberal Kalia, this worshiping of the self and all that new liberal system that we have now. And the problem is that by worshiping the self, we no longer feel a debt to the past or the future. We only owe a debt to the now. And if you only owe a debt to the now, you'll pretty much be gone tomorrow. And our spiritual traditions generally try to warn us against such things.
Thank you to President Trump. We have an incredible opportunity, all of us around this table, to protect the rights of all citizens from discrimination based on their religious beliefs. And thank you all for being here based on this executive order. And I look forward to doing great work together. Now, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has a few words.
Good white male Christian cisgender macho MAGA man, you can be as dumb as a rock and be deemed qualified to serve as Secretary of Defense.
Notice they never throw any other religion, any other type of faith group in their little list of negative qualities when they want to make a jab.
Well, if you're a white male Christian cisgender macho MAGA man, you can be as dumb as a rock and be deemed qualified to serve as Secretary of Defense. That's apparently what we've learned from this episode. But let's also be clear.
So, and remember when they first nominated Pete Hegseth, they literally pointed out that, oh, he just might be a little too Christian. Like, I don't like those cross tattoos. Why is he so Christian?
There's a serious point here. DEI has been used as a slur to suggest that anybody who might be a woman, might be a person of color, might be a religious minority, might have a disability, might be a religious minority, might be a veteran or of Native descent, anybody who has benefited in any way, shape, or form from the notion that we all should be treated equally and that we should be viewed on the basis of our merits and not discounted because we happen to be a woman or happen to be a person of color. Anybody who fits the mold of somebody who is not a white Christian cisgender male is by definition in this administration deemed inferior.
Now, I wouldn't go as far as to use any word like inferior. It's nothing like that. But for example, Trump has proposed the $5,000 baby bonus thing, right? And frankly, the concept would only lead to more of the same problems if it doesn't exist inside of your white Christian male patriarchal construct. And frankly, it is the system of things that actually made America the envy of nations. Like, we kind of have to do what works if we want to be great. I don't know another path to greatness.
Anybody who fits the mold of somebody who is not a white Christian cisgender male is by definition in this administration deemed inferior. That is the vast majority, Brian, of the people in this country.
A new campaign within the U.S. government is aiming to eradicate anti-Christian bias. A task force on this was established by Trump under an executive order back in February, which stated, "It is the policy of the United States and the purpose of this order to protect the religious freedoms of Americans and end the anti-Christian weaponization of government." And now the campaign to carry this directive out has officially been started. This was announced by Attorney General Pam Bondi during the first meeting of this task force. AG Bondi also noted there have also been many instances of churches getting vandalized. It seems that the cases are not treated as hate crimes like they would be if other groups had been targeted in certain ways. This has led to arguments there seems to be two standards of justice, that double standards is one of the key points being used to argue that there looks like an anti-Christian bias within the system. In addition to that, there were also a lot of issues that came up during COVID-19. For example, a lot of churches were forced to close during the lockdowns. Remember, only businesses deemed essential were allowed to stay open, but while you could not go to church, in some places, you could still go to a strip club or a marijuana clinic or an abortion facility. Many Christians took that as a form of religious discrimination and an attack on their freedom to worship. And it was in this context, all of this, that Trump formed the task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. But importantly, Pam Bondi noted the new campaign is not about favoritism to one particular religion. She said this is about protecting the First Amendment rights of all Americans in whatever religious beliefs they have. And there also appears to be a new campaign to bring back religion in America overall.
Tonight, this message is gaining steam.
So let me say very simply, I want more babies in the United States of America.
Well, it's led to what's called the pro-natalist movement, and it's getting more popular because of messages from Vice President Vance and Elon Musk, who, of course, has at least 13 children with multiple women. CNN's Mina Durson is out front at the 2025 Natal Conference.
Why did you just take a shot at Elon Musk and his 13 children? That is a baker's dozen. That's a billionaire's dozen. How come a billionaire like Elon Musk isn't entitled to a billionaire's dozen? You think Elon can't cover 13 random kids that he just, made haphazardly? That was a weird time to take a shot at Elon.
Well, it's led to what's called the pro-natalist movement, and it's getting more popular because of messages from Vice President Vance and Elon Musk, who, of course, has at least 13 children with multiple women. CNN's Mina Durson is out front at the 2025 Natal Conference because, yes, there is a conference.
Raise your hand if you are a mom or a dad in the room here.
Why does she look upset at the idea that they're having a conference about having babies? She looks visibly disturbed that there was a conference about having children
with multiple women. CNN's Mina Durson is out front at the 2025 Natal Conference because, yes, there is a conference.
Raise your hand if you are a mom or a dad in the room here tonight. This is the war for civilization, and we are going to win it one life at a time.
I spoke about that many times on this channel. I take the stance that I take not because I have a particular affinity for this or that group, but because I stand on the side of civilization. So I'm looking at what modern civilization needs, and I stand with what's good for those goals. And we need to actually have married, stable, traditional Christian-like families to save American civilization. I don't know another way to really solve the puzzle.
We're here at NatalCon, which is a gathering of about 200 people from all over the world who have come here because they all feel very strongly that the world needs more babies.
There's a civilizational catastrophe coming, and the way to solve it is to have sex. That's got to be the easiest pitch in history.
Birth rates around the world are plummeting, and they think this is the issue of our time.
It's a massive conversation, and that's why we're here.
We need to encourage more people to get married and have kids. We need the
Now, one last thing about this this really enjoyable conversation I was having with my oldest daughter yesterday. I said flat out, it's women's responsibility to actually have the children, to physically carry the children. Therefore, it's kind of women's fault that children just aren't really being born in large enough numbers. And that's a very uncomfortable conversation to have, but it wasn't like a finger at you type of thing. But for America, for Western society, it is a very uncomfortable conversation to have. No Western leader, no senator, no president, nobody in Congress, nobody wants to actually say for a fact that the reason why we have low birth rates is because women don't want to have traditional families. It's not just squeezing out one or two kids, but women don't want to have traditional families. The traditional setup was literally optimized around the woman producing as many children as she could possibly manage. We have nothing even approaching that now. And you can't convince women to even consider the conversation. Women are blameless. Women are responsible for nothing.
Birth rates around the world are plummeting, and they think this is the issue of our time.
It's a massive conversation, and that's why we're here.
We need to encourage more people to get married and have kids. We need those people to be the people of the future.
Many countries are no longer having enough kids to replace their populations. Some experts predict this will cause labor shortages and inflation, permanently changing the economy. The people most passionate about this call themselves pronatalists.
People are like, why are high fertility people always so weird?
Malcolm and Simone Collins have 4 kids.
Hey, I remember these guys. I did some I did some content on one of their videos. They were a weird looking couple. Look at her with her little Amish hat on. They're an odd looking, cute white couple, though. They're like a cute white couple, but they're kind of like odd looking. And not like odd in a super negative way, just like odd in an atypical way. Like you don't see very many Amish looking people ever.
Kids, soon to be 5, and are some of the loudest advocates for pronatalism.
What we've seen is pronatalism and demographic collapse have become the global warming of the right. Some of the first people who really recognize the scale of the problem are major players in the White House right now, like J.D. Vance and Elon Musk.
The birth rate is very low in almost every country. And unless that changes, civilization will disappear.
Elon Musk's fixation with population collapse has pushed pronatalism into the spotlight. His tweets about NatalCon helped double attendance for this year's event, where the tickets cost $1,000.
Yes, I spent all of my savings coming here, actually.
Do you want to have kids?
Yes.
You don't have kids?
No.
$1,000 is crazy. You spent $1,000 at a conference about having kids. I would have invested that $1,000 into knocking the broad up, bro. Like I'm trying to touch down in one of your eggs. What's up? I got at least $1,000 to show you that I'm serious about this family life. Like, what's up? He wasted $1,000 at a talk about family converse. Dude, this is why we ain't having money. I'm sorry. This is why we ain't having children. Your priorities are weird. This is exactly why we ain't having children. You're supposed to invest that $1,000 into you should have at least took some game courses, bro. You should have been going, rest in peace, Alan Roger Curry. You should have spent that $1,000 with Alan Roger Curry back in the day when he was still giving coaching courses, man. Y'all spending y'all money on crazy stuff.
Yes, I spent all of my savings coming here, actually.
Do you want to have kids?
Yes.
You don't have kids?
No.
How many do you want to have?
Well, minimum 5. I want to have my first at 22. And then I want to have
you gotta get on that.
Yeah, I know.
Organizers said they heard a lot of interest in matchmaking, so they gave yellow wristbands to singles to help them find each other. You have a yellow wristband?
Yes.
So you're...
Can you still order a Russian bride? I know they're not on Amazon. Is there a website I don't know about? Because I'm saying if you can just blow $1,000 plus, airfare and hotels, because all the extra stuff, you can probably order you a bride and just short circuit the whole game. You should be talking to me, not seeing that.
And
you're open to mingling.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Have you met anybody good?
Well, I'm not sure if you can tell.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of lads here. There's not that many ladies.
The speakers are largely dry economist types, focused on tweaks to boost birth rates, from tax credits to housing. But politically, the vibe is firmly right-wing.
The marginal people need to go back to the margins.
We want to raise families. The left is raising pride flags over cat shelters.
In 2024 actually did have a slight uptick in births. Bad news.
And see, the left is clever. The left is diabolical. The left is like, go ahead, have all the kids you want. You can have your little nuclear family. You want your, man, woman, child scenario, you go ahead and have that. But you got to send them to school, right? That's where the left comes in. The left is like, have all the babies you want and then send them to me and we can all be gay in class together, right? The left is diabolical with their evil.
It was just the anchor babies from the illegal immigrants.
It's pretty difficult to draw a neat, tight circle around everybody here. The far right or the extreme right, we would like to have more babies, but we would like to have more of our babies. On the other end, people more babies are always good, whether it's
Hey, bro, I know, Daryl, I know it was a shock Daryl says, "Ill, they have women speakers." I know, bro, but listen, even I have come to terms with this. If you want the women to have your children and be home when you get home from work, you got to let them talk every now and then. All right? I'm not saying they should just be yapping all the time, but if you want her to be home when you come home from work, you got to let her yap a little bit, bro. They have to talk sometime. It's not going to work if they just quiet forever. Then they start thinking about evil. They're too quiet. They start thinking about evil. You got to let them talk too.
Babies or immigrants, and the other axis, trad Catholics, Mormons, and then like a kind of tech bro or tech futurist, genetic selection of embryos, trying to refine the quality of the babies that are born.
Because the Collinses are building their family through IVF, using experimental testing to rank embryos for traits from health risks to intelligence, they get one of the biggest criticisms of pronatalism, that it's code for eugenics.
Eugenics is when you say, these are good traits, these are bad traits.
This is just people choosing among their own embryos. We're not talking about sterilizing people or all the classic problems that are out there with eugenics.
Yes, Daryl. I have an order. I have a logic to my chaos here, right? I'm gonna do my best to never tell you anything that's gonna hurt you. You know what I mean? Like if I stop to give you some advice, I'm not trying to poison you. I'm gonna do my best to give you this medicine, bro. And I want them to talk so I can hear what they're thinking. That's exactly right. Because every now and then you be like, wait, hold on. What did you just say? And then you can save your life. This is why you gotta let them talk every now and then.
Ahead of the conference, press coverage called out some speakers as race science promoters and eugenicists, and students accused the event of hosting Nazis, a criticism organizer Kevin Dolan dismissed.
You can't be governed by people calling you names. I think that these ideas, they're not going to come from people who don't want to hurt any feelings.
Do you feel like there's a risk of alienating people with the kind of speakers you've selected and that tenor?
Of course.
And is that a risk for the larger cause?
I mean, some of those people are polarizing. They're my friends. And I'm not going to chuck them under the bus.
We can't let the right own things that are that fundamental.
Paul Constance was the only liberal we met the whole weekend.
I think it's interesting that the conference about having babies, and really most of these people here, I don't think any of these people here are like pro single mothers, single fathers. I would go out on a limb and say that the people that come to this kind of conference, they believe in the traditional family setup. And I don't see a lot of the melanated crowd here. Where are all the blacks? Like, black people don't care about the family unit?
How dare you say that we are not interested in families in the black community?
These blacks.
I'm here because I think it's a really big topic, and progressives need to be in the conversation.
Why is this such a big deal to you?
So I have kids in their 20s. Young people today feel very hesitant or unable.
Jenny V, how dare you, Jenny? Jenny, how dare you? That was mean and maybe even a little bit racist. All right, you should think about that. That is a very terrible thing to say. How dare you notice what's most likely true? I don't think you should be. You should be saying that stuff out loud. Don't be talking about what's most likely true out loud, Jenny. You should stop and think about yourself. That was awful.
Able to form families. It's very easy to talk about cat ladies and to imply that people on the left don't care about kids. It's much harder to actually put forward policies that would make everyone of any political stripe be more inclined to form a family.
I think that one of the things that often gets skipped over in any discussion of natalism today is kind of the actual lives of women who make decisions about whether or not to bring a child into the world. Don't forget about the ladies. Don't forget about the people who have the babies.
Right. Don't forget about the ladies. You have to let them talk a little bit, okay? I'm not saying they get to recite the entire novel of War and Peace every time you walk through the door. God knows that's not what I'm talking about, right? But they got to talk a little bit. Because you got to understand how the female heart and soul works. If they don't talk a little bit, they will literally explode. And that's just gonna ruin everything you're trying to build. So you gotta let them talk sometimes, bro. I figure out what it is they're up to.
And I think you can see that crowd is pretty homogenous, very white, largely male. You know, we heard many of the speakers had to drop out because they were pregnant. So lost a lot of women that way. A lot of men told us they were there repping their wives because, you know, when you have a big family like that, you can't travel to a conference. It becomes very expensive and someone has to do that childcare. So I think this lack of diversity kind of shows this is a self-selecting group. You know, this message is kind of staying within these bubbles for now. And while these people are quite panicked about this, you know, a lot of experts we spoke to for this piece said collapse is really a little overblown.
Yeah, it is amazing to watch them. It's such an incredible report, but it did stand out so many white men. I mean, that's who was represented there.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Yes, there was a lot of white men represented there. And what the white men are worried about in terms of collapse, it's not that every single person on the planet will just fade away like with a Thanos snap. It's not that. It's what we call civilizational collapse. Meaning this, you tell me a great example of the white man leaving a particular territory and the non-white population maintaining the standards, practices, and procedures that the white man implemented to get that territory up to level. We're talking about colonialization and the post-colonial period, basically. That's the only kind of examples you could really think of, but that's what we're really up against, right? Can the new non-white population keep the trains running on time? Right now in the UK, there is a town that's having a little, I don't know, a garbage strike. And it's afflicting the non-white ethnic part of the population a lot heavier than the others, because the white people apparently just take their trash to the local dump or whatever they got, some type of municipal situation. But in the part of town where it's mostly non-white, apparently they just live with the stench. It's a wild thing happening there. And so the question is, will civilization itself collapse, right? Will we basically go backward in time in terms of civilizational progress?
Well, there's a lot of things, I suppose, that I worry about, but and some of these things will seem esoteric to people. You know, the birth rate is very low in almost every country, and it's something, unless that changes, civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year. Places like Korea, the birth rate is 1/3 replacement rate. So that means in 3 generations, Korea will be 3 or 4% of its current size. And nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying. And people, it's just not something we evolved to.
Humanity is not dying. Civilization, modern civilization is dying. There will be no Star Trek future if things continue this way. And then just keep it a buck. Can we even get to outer space without all the white people? I mean, like I just have to say it plainly. I can't say it any other way. You think Africans are going to get us to the moon?
React to. And I mean, I worry generally about the strength of America. You know, America is the central column that holds up all of Western civilization. So if you like, if you've got the temple of Western civilization, America is the central column. If that column fails, it's all over. You can't run off to New Zealand or some other place. It's over. So either we strengthen that column and make sure America is strong and will be strong for a long time, or well, that roof's coming down.
Hey, Clue, technically black Africans, I mean the black ones, not the northern ones that are a little bit racially ambiguous, but the black Africans They really never left Africa until they got snatched up. Only now are the black Africans leaving Africa because they got the white man's boats. If it was like sailboats and ships like that, like back in the day, the niggas wasn't going nowhere. Because low key, we've been sailing the waters of this world for like 500,000 years. Like mankind has been sailing for a long, long time, right? Quiet as kept. Except the black Africans, them niggas never sailed a thing. I don't believe that story about Mali or Mansa Musa's dad. I don't believe that. Africa does not have sailing culture. They were stuck. They were stuck until the white man found them. And then the white man was like, well, if you niggas ain't leaving, you guys want a job? I got a job for you guys. That's literally how the white man came to Africa. Like, yo, listen. You niggas ain't doing that. And yeah, niggas want a job. And then many years later, we wound up here. All right, I'm paraphrasing. Let's, long story short, but that's kind of the gist of it. You know what? That cash bonus thing is not a good idea. That is not a good idea at all. And I missed this earlier. Shout out to the SKC with the $1 Rumble chat. Shout out to everybody over in Rumble. SKC said, discount babies. Yeah, there is no way that this $5,000 thing on its own is a good idea. We've tried giving women money, like just giving women money to have children. We've tried that. It doesn't really work the way you want it to work. Let me show you something. This is kind of usually how it turns out. Like just giving chicks money. They don't really make the kind of decisions you want them to make. All the EBTs, y'all. She getting all the EBTs right now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Damn, 3K in EBT, that's a lot. That's a lot of EBT. Are you just gonna give the money away like that? That's crazy. Not a booger in my nose. What? Who wrote these lyrics? Oh, that's all you have to do. I can do that. How come I never made no? I don't get no EBT. I did that a lot too, and I ain't never get a dime for it. I mean, we're not gonna pay for your whole thing. Like, why should you get money for the whole thing? You can't cover up like the rest. Like, 5K not gonna help at all. Like, that's $5,000. That's like a couple of months of money. That's at least 2 months worth of money. If you stretch it out, right? You can pay at least a month, maybe 2 months of rent. There's some food in that. The problem is that the government wants, the problem is that women want the government to pay for feminism. I wouldn't be as anti-feminist if it wasn't paid for on the taxpayer dime. Feminism wouldn't even be an issue. It wouldn't even be life altering. It wouldn't change the culture so much if it wasn't actually siphoned out of men's pockets through taxpayer expenditure. And I wouldn't hate it as much if it wasn't stolen from me. If you want to, as a woman, right? I'm not really gonna criticize you for wanting to pursue some educational pursuit, some professional career, right? What I really don't want is for the government to put its thumb on the scale and say that we need to have more women than men in a particular role. And then that will drastically alter over time the nature of our entire civilization, right? And so if women want to pursue things, if they can actually do a thing, fine, whatever. Let her compete with the men, and a few women will rise to the top for all the different jobs out there. You'll always get a couple of chicks who can do a thing, and I won't really think about that. I won't marvel. I won't criticize it. I might even marvel at it. Like, okay, like, you know, it's like back in the day when they had like black fighter pilots. Like, you realize they actually had to be worth something. You know, I did a whole bit about the black fighter pilots back in the day. Like, just the fact that they were black in that job at that time, they were literally the best of the best. Like, they were probably better than, if not as good as, a lot of their white counterparts, right? Because the fact that they were black, they had to be kind of nearly perfect in order to prove to the rest of the country, like, black people can fly planes under combat, right? Like, we had to be immaculate, right? And so if you put women under that pressure, the few women that rise up, it'll be like, okay, well, she's probably worth something, right? You're not just here because of your skirt, right? And it'll be respectable. But the way it is right now, it's literally girl power. It's literally girl bossing every level of the game. And the guys are starting to notice that. And not only are you girl bossing, you're refusing to do the one thing. You like literally had one job. Like not to get back into the Bible and all that, but you realize the hands of God crafted you for a particular thing. I was built to fight, fucking die. And I'll carry that burden. I won't even resent that burden. I'll even keep all of my tears to myself. I will keep my pain and my grief to myself. But you had one job, just one job. And here we are. She understands birth rate math. She gets that there is a structural problem that feminism is producing. She's not describing it in those terms. I'm doing that, but she understands that women aren't making enough babies to keep this thing going. The top is always supported by the bottom, and we're really not producing enough of the bottom to keep the top alive, and the whole thing is going to collapse on itself eventually. You know, another issue that's kind of, this is a little bit of a tangential thing, but when it comes to like these child credits, because of the single mom culture that we're sort of supporting here, a lot of that goes to single women. Again, it doesn't go to, quote, families, not traditional families. Yes, Joy, they want more white children. Why is that such a bad thing? I don't think it's terrible to say that. Maybe we need a few more white children. We need a couple of Brads and Beckys. Things are getting a little rusty around here, and Brads and Beckys tend to be great at working that out over the long term. The View thinks babies are white supremacy. More babies means more white supremacy. That's really what she's trying to get at. And again, when we look at that whole natalism conference, where were the Black American people at? You know, all the third worlders, they tend to have higher birth rates. Black Americans are not third worlders, and we don't really have those birth rates that we need. We're not really cranking them out like we're supposed to. Just a thought.
We'll say this. I paid in my money.
She wants, like I said earlier, she wants the government to pay for feminism. See, if the government pays for women to have children, then women will not have families. They'll just have a couple of children, take the checks from the government, and live party ever after. Like that's really all they want to do in these scenarios most of the time, especially when we have all of this like propaganda encouraging women to be like Sex in the City forever. What we need to do is take things away from women. And that's the conversation that is the political third rail. Women have way too many options. Women have options so they can be modern women, but men don't really have options. And that's kind of where the problem lies. I see you in the back, Pastor. Give me one more minute.
New York Post reports President Trump endorsed giving new mothers a financial award on Tuesday after a report surfaced that the White House was considering handing out up to $5,000 per delivery to reverse the decline in U.S. birth rates. Sounds like a good idea to me, Trump told the Post in the Oval Office when asked about the reported cash incentive to get more Americans to have kids. The administration's deliberations over the so-called baby bonus were first reported Monday by the New York Times. One plan would give a $5,000 incentive to new moms, while another would see that 30% of all Fulbright scholarships be given to applicants who are married or have children. Okay. Now, I think this is a great idea. I mean, I'm very much in favor of almost any plan to incentivize people to have kids and start families. The only stipulation I would make, and that these plans should make, is that whatever the reward is, you only get it if you're married. Okay, we don't want to incentivize single motherhood. It's not as simple as we need people to have more kids. Yes, we need people to have more kids, but in a certain context. If the goal is to maintain, support, and protect human civilization,
you don't need more kids. You need more stable, traditional, married families. We didn't get civilization with a bunch of single moms doing whatever they want. All right, that's not the path. That's not the recipe for civilization. That's actually the recipe for anti-civilization. But we got a little panel building up right now. I don't want to keep everybody waiting for too much longer. Pastor, you've been in the chat for a while, kind of being a negative naysayer in the chat. What is your issue, Pastor? You got the mic now.
So yeah, you know I come in with the negativity for the coons and shit, but I still rock with y'all. But nah, man, like so I understand.
I'm trying to keep the profanity to a minimum, so please help me out with that. Thank you.
I didn't cuss.
You dropped the S-bomb. I'm just saying, try to keep the profanity to a minimum. I'm
trying
to stay in the white man's money. Listen, you don't understand, Pastor, because you black, and I know, and I forgive you. But the white man's money is so nice, Pastor. You wouldn't understand how good the white man's money is, bro.
Actually, I make
Toby be good nigga for massa. Good nigga. Don't send Toby away.
Well, okay, since you want to bring that up, I make legit white man money. I don't beg for it online, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, then you understand. Respect the game, bro. This is my job. Act like I got scrubs on.
I get it, man. So I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm gonna play your game. I want you to keep getting your money, bro. But anyway, I get their argument because it's almost like they only want racist Christian white people that be having kids, and they don't want to see anyone else having kids. So I get their argument.
Based on what are you saying that? Because Trump and his policy is nothing like that. Only people like me or Matt Walsh are saying that. So why are you making that argument about the policy?
That's the that's not in Trump's policy, but that is how it's going to be carried out by the American. I think that's the interpretation by the American people. I'm glad you said that. So I think the American people interpret it that way. I don't think that's actually written in his policy, not one bit.
Thank you.
I think it's how it's interpreted by the people.
You're reading a little bit into it. So why do now let me grant you your argument for the sake of that, because we come to common ground there. Let me grant you your argument. Why do you think that's a problem if we only restrict it to the Christian nuclear family style of reproduction?
Because it's a uphill fight. See, there's a book called The Bell Curve, right? It talks about IQ and family structure and building. White women have been saying for a very long time that they're not going back into nuclear families. It does not work. They don't have any fulfillment in it. And so it's written. They've been writing about this for like 30 years.
Pastor, seriously, and I'm asking you in a joking question, but even as a medical professional, what do women really know anyway?
That's very, But that didn't come. So that okay, even though white women said it,
it just started stuttering. Holy crap!
You kind of got me. You kind of got me right there. You did kind of get me right there, right? You kind of got me right there. But a white man wrote this book about what he was observing about white families. That white families are being torn down. because white women don't want to do the nuclear family. And I think black women followed suit. They say, well, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that nuclear family stuff either. It's too much. It's too constricted. It's
I
too
think it's the reverse. I
restricted.
think white women followed black women's model. Black women were kind of
No,
pioneering that, and then white women said, I think I like the freedom and the latitude that black women are getting, so they wanted that.
that's not how it's documented. It's documented that white women said forget the nuclear family first. Now I'm not gonna say that you're wrong. I'm not,
Okay.
'cause I really don't know.
Okay, fine. Dirty folks. I sound like you want to jump in there. You got it.
Not go ahead, rock out, knock out. I mean, black women, it started with the Black Women's Coalition, and white women, middle class white women, wanted to work because they thought it was fun because they saw black women working. And they wanted the autonomy to cuss out their husbands like black women did. So, and even now, every time something happens, they bring some goofy black chick with dreadlocks out to be like, here's a black woman. We need to do toxic stuff. They still use black women as a face of toxicity. So, but I see way more white girls going to college with a ring on their finger. I see as many white girls getting married in college as I see black girls with a diploma with a baby on her lap.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing with white women that you go to college, you graduate, and because when you see the videos, it's literally them in their graduation cap and gown flashing the engagement ring. So it's a twofer, right? They didn't just go to college and party all the time, right? They did what they were supposed to do academically, and romantically they secured the bag, so to speak. And I totally respect it in those terms, right? Like if that's how you secure the bag, that is the appropriate path to the bag for a young woman to take, right? Go to school, get your education, go get your little paper on your wall, get a husband, marry somebody that's worth something because you met in school, you were both on your way to something, and then you fall into the role. And if you're going to work and do all the other things as well, you find a way to make that work too. But the idea is that you both commit to the role. White women have kind of low-key been doing that and selling feminism at the same time. And it's kind of been unnoticed, but now it's the divergence is so great. You got so many white women with purple hair and nose rings and whatnot that it's a problem for everybody. But look, I think
So the
me and Dirty
anti-natalist
Folk,
movement, the anti-natalist
black women
movement
started out with the freedom.
the
You got
anti-natalist movement.
anti-natalist what?
The anti-natalist movement was actually started by white women too, and I'm glad y'all brought up the fact that white women get married quicker. They also get divorced quicker. That was also documented in that book.
I don't know how true that is.
What's killing white people is not their marriage rate; it's their divorce rate. That's
I
what's
don't know
killing
how
them.
true that is. The black marriages, I think, are statistically shorter.
The white people marriage rate is not what's hurting them. It's their divorce rate that's hurting them. It's not their marriage rate. It's their divorce
You
rate.
have to get married to get divorced.
And okay, you have to get married to get divorced. I'll give you that. But still, their divorce rates is what's really driving their families to hell.
I agree with that. So a divorced woman with 2 kids that wants the house and a car because she needs the Volvo station wagon to take the kids to soccer practice. I get it. How is that any different than me having to meet a girl my same age that got 5 kids by 7 dudes? Because you got to count the 2 abortions. And now she's like, yo, I'm ready to settle down now, but my kids come first. Which one would you rather have?
Would I rather have the married woman that has the 2 kids and gets divorced? Ideally, that's going to work out. Ideally, that's going to work out better because the father hopefully will still be involved in the children's life rather than the woman that has 5 kids that has no father at all for those 5 kids. I get your argument. I'm not saying our situation is better than theirs. I'm just saying if we want to talk about their in particular situation, it's their divorce rates. Now ours may be our marriage rates.
Real quick. Before you jump in, Dirty Folk, this is another point that it kind of got brought up. Let me just open it up. If you want to increase the marriage rate, not only do you have to, quote, take things away from women, but you have to stop punishing men in terms of like alimony and child support. You can't punish men for interacting with women. And that is a huge part of, lowering the birth rate outside of women's choices. Like we can blame that on men to a degree.
I agree with all of that. But here's what I understand though. when you talk about, and the whole divorce thing doesn't matter to me because still 57% of white women are married. 9% of black women are married. 9%. Not even 1 out of 10. So even with that, it's a bigger pool to get divorced from. Look, I don't expect any relationship to last forever. Because women's second relationships. Men can keep the same best friends since third grade. Girls, they don't have friends. They're narcissists. But the fact that men try, you find me for every one divorced white woman you show me, I'll show you 10 black girls that told me they passed up 2 marriage proposals in their 20s. I'll show you 10 to 1. Black women hate relationships. They love penis though.
So what's going on is, okay, so we can sit here and break this up in black and white, but what's going on, the phenomenon that we're seeing now is that women in general hate the constraints or the restrictions of relationships. They hate the constraints or restrictions of
Yes.
marriage. So I get where we're having this. I
Yes.
get where we're having it as a black and white argument, but this is now an American woman issue. I don't even think.
Well, it's a global issue, Pastor. This is across
Eh,
the modern world. So, like
eh,
Japan, South Korea, all of the Western world. This is just everywhere that's actually not the third world.
it could be a global issue, and that's fine, right? I'm not taking away from that. And I'm not taking away from blue-haired white girls. No white man tries to date the blue-haired white girl because it's like dating a cobra. You see the red head on the cobra, right? But
Well,
Keisha come with blue hair. She never took the blue hair off since prom of 1999. She been blue ever
the
since.
blue-haired white girl is a symbol of a problem, and the problem is a huge issue in why you don't have the birth rates that you need. Those blue-haired white girls are basically a product of this university system and this left-wing culture where they're teaching rebelliousness and they're teaching this sort of anti-natalist type of culture, and they're creating an environment where these attitudes can fester and then get reinforced, and they have social enforcement and all that. And so it's the typical thing about modern women I keep talking about, like that whole trope of your daughter going off to college as like this sweet little blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, and then she comes back, half her head shaved, the other half is a rainbow. She's got a bull ring in her nose, a septum ring now, and she's telling you all this feminism stuff and how you're evil because you're the patriarchy. Meanwhile, you're just the dad that loved her and sent her off to college and paid for her whole life, and now she's like this weirdo who hates you, right? This is a weird phenomenon that's just happened in American culture more and more over the generations, and I'm arguing that purple-haired girl isn't really the illness, she's the symptom.
Yeah, she's the symptom.
I will even go as far as the blue-haired girl is a subculture, right? It's like grunge rock. It's a subculture of the mainstream culture. While Keisha is the mainstream black culture, there's a weird phenomenon. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you places you'll never see a blue-haired white girl or a black girl playing any sports or in any group activity that takes cooperation. You'll see some lesbian black girls play basketball.
The pickleball courts, bro, because I be driving through the city and I know pickleball is like the newest white rage right now. It's like tennis, but shorter and smaller, like a really small court, and you can play doubles or singles. And it's basically tennis though, or it's like ping pong, but standing on the ping pong table, if you could imagine that. Like that's how a pickleball court is, if you've seen it. And you don't see black women or the weird, obvious, crazy haired
women. You know why? Because and look at all the sports that I enjoy in the Olympics, right? When it's cooperative sports, it's all white women. Synchronized swimming, gymnastics is an individual sport. They take the 4 best put on the same team. Same with track and field. So you'll see black girls there. But if it takes teamwork, coordination, camaraderie, whether it's cheerleading, volleyball, whatever, there's no black girls there because they can't cooperate with anybody.
Hey Z, you know what? Z, hold on. When I be taking my kids out and we go over to like the park or whatever, and we be doing our little thing, and I see the white folk over there playing pickleball, it does feel like liberal New York City white supremacy. Like I don't even see any Indians over there. Like y'all don't be inviting nobody, bro. That and it's not even just the one park. Like I be driving around. And I never see black people playing pickleball. Nobody on the pickleball court is melanated, bro. It's not a Mexican, not an Indian, not a nigger. None of it is the most white supremacy thing you will find in New York City, man.
See,
Won't
down here
last
in
forever though. I
Texas,
know sooner or later somebody gonna crash that shit.
down here in Texas, blacks and Mexicans are at the parks all the time. So I think that might be just where you live at, man, because we're at the parks all the time.
No, I don't mean at the park. They be at the park, but that pickleball court, you need the white privilege card, bro. They don't just let you in.
That's like
Ain't
Chicago
nobody
was
trying
with
to play that weak
soccer.
ass game, that weak ass pickleball. I mean,
I
weak
don't know.
pickleball. Let me not cuss. Pickleball's weak, man. It's a weak game.
Soccer is the most popular game in the world, and Mexicans don't play with the blacks. The blacks on the basketball courts, the Mexicans are playing soccer. When you see a little black kid trying to kick a ball, yeah,
Because they claim what they can't. They show up with their family and their friends, about 20 deep, and they play soccer.
I have a little theory about white folks' little creative sport. I think white folk are always on the edge of creating new sports because they're steadily trying to find an activity to get away from black people. Like they will skydive and play ping pong at the same time, bro, just to get away from niggas.
But their sports are requiring less and less athleticism. That's just why they're not catching on. Pickleball, they built a huge pickleball stadium down here in Texas. They even had Tony Romo for the opening day. It ain't doing well now. Pickleball's gonna die out, fam. It's a non-athletic sport. It's really for old white people. It's for retired white people.
bro, they're not trying to go pro. You can say the same thing about darts or billiards or whatever, bro. It's the fact that they're sub sports are still sub sports, bro. It's certain things that I expect from certain types of people. Call it racial profiling if you want to. I am generally shocked to see married black couples under the age of 70. I'm shocked to see boomer couples where all the kids match because boomers were notorious at marrying single mothers, blended families everywhere. I'm generally shocked at function when it comes to blacks within relationships.
I'm actually kind of with you. I'm not shocked in that way, but I've kind of noticed the lack of black coupling out in the world. Like you'll see women with kids, black women with kids, but I don't always see black family units together. Like I see a lot of Latinos around, and you'll see women with kids, because women with kids is just a thing, but I see way more Hispanic family couples out together, like family units, like where you could tell it's mom and dad and kids. Like I don't see it as much with black and even when I'm in the heart of like whatever black neighborhood I be in at the time, like it's just not as prevalent, and it's noticeable. And like it's been noticeable to me for years. But I want to reset for a minute. We're gonna let Matt Walsh talk for a bit, and then I got a question I'm gonna pose to the panel before we wrap this up.
Then, yeah, I mean, step one, you need more people. You need the people who are here to create more people. That's how it works. But then, as part of that, it's not even like step two. As part of step one, the new people who are born need to be born into a certain context, and that context needs to be the family, a stable nuclear family. So we don't want to incentivize single motherhood. We don't want to give, a woman who already has 3 baby daddies an incentive to go out and find 3 more. So it should be $5,000 per delivery if you are married, only if you're married.
What would it take to actually bring back marriage? Like traditional nuclear family marriage. None of this new age polygamy stuff, none of the multiple wives, none of this kink marriage where she's really the boss. I mean, the traditional marriage style. What would it actually take? And I don't mean where I'm not saying we go straight nuclear option and just, a handmaid's tale of the woman, because that's obvious and easy. But from sort of a governmental structure, how could we, from a policy standpoint, encourage this?
We need to reset housing, and we need to make it where when you actually buy a house, you actually own a house. We have to we have to we have to get people to think that community farming, like having a garden in your backyard, is cool again. Homesteading. I'm actually starting to see a whole lot more people getting into homesteading. Something to get families not back together, not just stuck in the damn house, sitting in the house, and one kid's in the living room, one kid's playing video games, the guys in the man cave. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to figure out how to
You're
get
almost talking
families.
about, you're talking about not so much homesteading maybe, but like the making more small township environments, right? Like where there was a lot of smaller towns and cities, like where I'm at in Jersey, I notice how Jersey's laid out. Jersey doesn't have a bunch of big cities, but it's like if you drive long enough on any one street, you'll drive to the next township. And it's basically like a bunch of small towns laid out. And I think what you're kind of talking about is trying to spread things out in more of a small town environment and where I get away from the urban living, because urbanism itself it creates all kinds of human problems.
Exactly, because I grew up in the country and I moved to Dallas, and I'm completely disappointed. I'm disappointed in what I see from families in Dallas compared to what I seen from rural area of North Carolina. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Well, most of America is rural. This is what you need to do: put tape on girls' mouths, repeal the 19th, give all the incentives to men, and then things will work out.
Yes.
Everything that was great about America happened because women were dependent on the benevolence of men. Now they're just dependent on men's tax dollars, and they think they can make decisions. They try to think. It's crazy out here. Incentivizing women to do anything, women by nature will find a way to destroy the spirit and the intent of the gift. So you have to incentivize men. You want to give 5,000 for first child? Sure, give it to the man. Oh, you got the kid. Matter of fact, give them primary custody. Girls know who to sleep with
And
when they have to.
You and I have always agreed on that kind of thought. And I was talking earlier about like this whole conversation with my daughter, and a certain question came up, right? And here's the problem with giving women male equality. We almost expect that given male equality, women will kind of make decisions somewhat similar to what men would make, right? Because if you're going to do radically different things in everything we do, then is there really a true benefit to giving women male equality? And that's literally where we are right now, where it seems like what women actually want in their heart of hearts, the things that women desire, if given a free hand, it will not produce a thriving family network, which means will not produce a thriving society.
Yeah, that's it, bro.
And so you kind of have to take women's rights away.
Give men primary custody. Then what leverage does women have? Look, somebody came to me the other day. They was like, yo, it's more homeless women than ever. And I was like, women have always been homeless. Always. Women have always had to sleep with somebody for a place to stay. Women have never known how to count. They've never managed.
That means they weren't as homeless, though. No, that literally means women were never as homeless as men, though. I think that's an actual point that needs to be fleshed out. In the modern sense, women are more homeless than ever because women no longer depend on men as a practical measure, and as a societal norm, it's just not really a thing. And so we don't really provide in that way. Whereas back in the day, it was unheard of to have a bunch of wayward women. They would have all grouped up together and paid rent to some old lady in her house because her husband died or something like that. Like that was kind of how it was done.
You talking about the long house?
Right. More or less, but I'm really talking about like a boarding house in earlier America, you know. But you get what I'm saying. Like women were never really alone, just homeless like that. There was always a thing. Men, you know, because a man will sleep in the woods, and you know, I'll figure it out until I get back on my feet. Women aren't doing that.
Yeah, men will sleep in their car until they get it right, and the car don't even run. But here's the the spirit of they always depended. Do you know how hard it is to be a homeless woman in America? That means you got rid of Section 8, CHAC, Christian Charities, Habitat for Humanity, all these goofy ass dudes out here like, I'm gonna say the community, all them dudes that's giving away free cribs. Do you know how hard it is to be a homeless woman in America? And yet they still did it. That's a success story, sir. That is dedication to homelessness right there.
So they became men. Oh, hold up, mister. I'm gonna kick it to you in 1 second, but dirty folks, just to flesh that out a bit, modern women are choosing homelessness. Van life is now a thing, right? And it's really for a lot of women are doing it for content creation, but there's van culture. There's a whole van life subculture because you learn this when you watch the content creators, right? There's
I made a whole video about it. Yeah, I made a video.
There's whole communities. So it's like,
and they got kids, bro. They got kids. Like we got to go to We going to Walmart to wash up today. It's gonna be cool. I'm like,
we watch the same girl. We watch the same girl.
Hey, that's a trend. That's a trend of what y'all just said about them women doing the van life thing. They call it like toxic something. I literally just seen like a video or something about that, bro. But Matt Walsh.
But that's not going to work because of Gabby Petito. You remember Gabby Petito? They had a nationwide search for her because she was with her boyfriend in a relationship, and he deleted her. You remember Gabby Petito doing the van life with her boyfriend?
No,
they had a. You don't remember that?
No, I don't pay attention to every runaway.
I remember the name. But
search for her.
Hold on, Pastor. I remember the name, but I wanted Mr. O to jump in real quick. You was about to say something, Mr. O.
Yeah, I was just saying though, the cuck conservatives, not you. I said cuck conservatives like Matt Walsh, and the like. They just want y'all to be back slaves.
I know you want something about me.
No, because I'll be kind of like jumbling my words. You know what I'm saying? I could say conservative, but I had to make a clear distinction, sir. It's called cuck conservative, and I'm talking about Matt Walsh and the like. They just want y'all to be slaves.
Fascist at this point. I'm just keeping the hood conservative brand.
Got you. Right. That's kind of borderline of like nationalism though too. I mean, so you right, but I mean, depending on who looking at the coin, they But anyway, the $5,000 incentive. Now I'm trying to figure that out. Would that make inflation go up even more drastically than before with this type of incentive?
I mean, theoretically, yeah.
So what's in it for men?
Nothing.
I don't think you realize how this works, bro.
Absolutely nothing.
So we still supposed to go ahead and benefit a system that doesn't benefit us, and some kind of so-called tax break or benefit, like they say.
No. What you saying? We like you part of this program, sir? No. The whole point, the fact that you like, nah, I don't even want kids with this goofy chick is the reason they trying to pay out. Look, men see women as generally speaking, men see modern women as a bad deal. I take it a step further. Women are a breathing felony. Everything about this woman is a felony.
Yeah.
If I shoot my shot and she don't like it, now I'm harassing her. You know what I'm saying? I call her twice, she don't call back, man. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no point in time, anything that she does, she's like God in these streets. And my arms ain't long enough to fight with God.
Well, you know what? That's what really, and I've been talking about this a lot recently, but that's what's starting to irk me the most about this particular conversation. And guys like us and like manosphere type of guys, we the only place that you can go to that will even approach it from this angle. But everyone who wants to kind of solve the birth rate crisis is kind of an umbrella term for it, but the gender war is a more popular framing for it, right? Everybody who wants to solve the gender war, they only want to solve it from the male side of the equation. You want to tinker around with everything involving men. You want to get under the hood with men. You want to make these little Netflix shows about incels and all this stuff and act like it's men who need to be fixed and men who need to change. Men got to bend over more. Men got to be men more. Men got to be women more effectively. Like, men got to do more. But nobody ever ask what women should do, what women must do. Well, nobody ever wants to bring women up. And so it just irks me that even with this Trump thing, when they even approach women at all, it's like, here, take some money. It just burns me up, bro. I hate that whole framing of it. Like, so men get punished and women get money, and that's how you solve the problems, right? I'd rather this whole thing burn down if you're gonna keep doing it like that.
Yes, that's why I'm enjoying the decline with my za and my popcorn, and I'm just waiting for the collapse. But I know it ain't gonna happen. Too many simps around. You know, have you ever seen Escape from L.A. the trailer? It literally said in the what's the name? Marriage is supposed to be something. I can't think of the last word. They've been planning this shit for decades, bro. And now it's just finally happening.
You know what? Here's the problem, and shout out to my course marriage secretary. Marriage is a corporate merger, which is the fault of black women, by the way. I don't forget that part. Because marriage as a license, having to have a license for anything, hunting, anything, was racism. Y'all know that, right? The marriage license came out because too many black women were trying to marry white men after slavery. So they was like, yo, we got to keep it categorized. But all licenses are racist. But
Men changed those laws so they could do it in Virginia.
white women changed those laws. Anyway, look, I know you love these hoes. I ain't tripping on that. But the whole thing about that, the way that they got around the construct of marriage is to make it a corporate merger. So if marriage is a business and men are coming with love, men are just starting to realize it's bad business on a personal level, right? They're not even looking at it like, I should have put this girl to work, like cooking and cleaning and washing clothes and getting knocked up. That was your job. That was your part of this corporation, this cooperative. They didn't even see it like that. Now they're just seeing all the bad part, like, man, human resources. Like, I don't want that. Right.
Women don't even want that job anymore, that it seems like. And this is what's crazy about that particular job, right? Let's just take all the economic realities off the table, because I understand there's an economic reality to it. So a housewife is literally like for upper class men. Most men can't afford to have a life worth living and a woman at home too. Like, you both of y'all got to pay for this place, right? So I get that economic reality. Let's take that off the table now. There is a problem where women who now, with all the modern conveniences, you have cars, you have roads, the world is technically, America is technically safer than it's ever been. Outside of the black areas, it's safer than ever. You have all, dishwashers and toaster ovens and washing machine. They got a washing machine that will dry your clothes. I don't mean a double
I just saw that
stack.
yesterday. I just saw that.
Yeah, it's not even a double stack. It's a one unit. It will put the water and the heat in the same box, and these women don't want the job no more. The job is easier than ever.
That's the thing about that. And shout out to Mr. O on this one. They don't want it because it's too many simps. Here's the thing I know about women. Girls are dumb. Anytime I listen to a girl do anything other than a hair salon, I know there was a man behind it. There is no real estate mogul woman. She done talked to 4 dudes, suck 4 different weenies to get an accumulative of this knowledge, and then they try to push it out like she was that girl. That women aren't intrinsically good at anything, not even sex, and that's what you want them for. They're not really good at anything. Men behind the scenes do it off benevolence, like, I'll teach you how to set up your 501, whatever the case may be, and then women run with it, and then the laws help women because they're quote unquote minority, even though they're 52% of the nation, whatever. And then women forget the men that got them there, and sleep with a felon or whatever, and do their own thing and say they don't need a man, but they needed 4 men to not need 1 man.
Okay, so if that's true, maybe this whole marriage thing is bigger than just making more babies, making more families, making the backbone of America great again. This
No,
may
no,
be
making
no.
more
Hold on,
taxpayers.
let me force this out real quick. This may be a national security issue because if we got a bunch of single women running around here that are looking for an opportunity to be with somebody, that means that foreign men can come in here. These women will let a domestic, they'll bring a terrorist up in this mother just to
Now
be
you're
with.
thinking. Now you're thinking because look,
We gotta
I've
get these women
always
married.
said,
It's
well,
a national crisis.
I've been saying for a while now, there is a giant sexual component to women's voting habits. So women voting for like the dark stranger to come into the country is it's damn near part of female graphic novel literature or whatever, romance novel literature, right? They will welcome in the foreigner because they are sexually curious. And so a lot of like a perfect example, a judge just got arrested recently down in New Mexico. His wife met some illegal immigrant guy, this Trinidad guy. You know, she needed him to install some glass, right? So he was banging on her glass, and that's how he got in with the family. So now after he done fixed her glass up, he done shined up her glass or whatever. She's like,
Banging on a
oh well, we
glass.
got a house
Wow.
back there. You could, bro. That's he was banging on her glass, and now she let him rent
Wow.
the house. You know, they got a casita in the backyard, a little house, not a big house, a little house. It's the casita, and he's renting out the casita now. So that's how he got into the family. And this is a judge's wife. And I'm looking at this scenario. I did a video on it earlier today. And I'm just thinking about it like, you know, she probably got her glass polished a couple of times before the feds ran in. Because, you know, women are like that too. Men have their little goals and they targets. They want to tag stuff and all. Women be wanting to get tagged and all that. And, you know, wouldn't surprise me is all I'm saying.
It's not surprising about it. Polishing that glass is crazy.
I like that. I like that reference. And yeah.
That was crazy work. But yeah, but that's okay. If black people really knew how slavery worked, they would owl five women more often. If people understood, do you know how crazy it is that Pocahontas is a hero?
her and what's the name? Cleopatra.
You know how crazy that is, bro?
It's only crazy because you read books and you don't watch cartoons for children. So like you get reality, right? Most people only know the Pocahontas Disney version. And shout out to the Midwest request. He said, bingo. Yeah, we all kind of understand women have weird sexual desires. That's why they can't vote. But Pocahontas is a great example of that, right? Like in reality, like, come on, she kind of dotted her way through diplomacy. It's not really what we should
But
be
what she
proud
did
of.
even worse though, she was a security issue. Once she went over there with once she went over there with the white people, look what she did.
No. That's not even half the story. Her dad was the chief. Her dad said, listen, we done captured this John boy. We understand English. They weren't dumb. They understood English, but we speaking in our own language. The same way Mexicans do when you go get that work. They don't speak English around you. You know, that's how you know they're setting you up. They're like, look, man, we got this white boy. He locked up in the back. Man, we holding him for ransom. Fuck these crackers. Man, they on his daughter, the chief's daughter, Pocahontas, was in the back polishing his
monetization rules, gentlemen. Monetization rules, please.
Polishing his windows, polishing his glass, and teaching him the language so that he could be a spy. And the crazy thing is, she didn't even end up with John Smith. She ended up with another dude that took it to Europe and ran locos on her.
Wasn't it like Roanoke or something like that?
No, Roanoke was the place, but maybe the place was named after him. But the whole thing is, she got ran like a track star until she got syphilis and died as a prisoner because she went against her dad.
Stop
Pocahontas
books,
is a
man.
traitor. She's a
You've
traitor.
been reading too many books, folks. Stop reading books, bro.
No, we love it. No, we needed that history because she's still doing it to this day. You know what I'm saying? We just call her Pocahontas or Keisha.
I know you did not get that from any popular movie.
You know what? What had happened was I had accidentally opened up a historical document, and then I struggled stream out
What
my
was it, a
third grade.
scroll?
I struggled my way through.
You went through the survivor scroll, Dirty? Like Reverend X, you went through the survivor scroll?
I wiped off the sand and the dust, and I was like, "Whoa, this traitorous piece of cooch right here!"
Right, these Pocahontases ain't loyal. This is amazing.
Hey, we forgot about Daughters of the Trade. You won't get no Benedictine honor than that.
You know what's so crazy about Daughters of the Trade? Like the authors of the book have heard that the Manosphere has gotten our hands on it. And, you know, and shout out to guys like BGS, you know, because he was the guy I heard about this from. And now that the Manosphere is kind of a force to be acknowledged and reckoned with, the Daughters of the Trade author is like, they are interpreting this book incorrectly. It's like, oh, you mean we read the words wrong? What do you mean? How did we read the words wrong? That's crazy.
No, what's crazy is what they did to Harold Corlander. Is it David Corlander or Harold Corlander? The guy who wrote the book called The African, which is a fictional novel, and then they turned it to the movie Roots and said it was a documentary that man life.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until late in life. So
Like, bro, like my whole life, everybody was like, I got Indian in my family. 1 6-part series. Now we all from Africa. It's crazy work.
Bro, yeah, we all been gassed up a lot, and we kind of getting off the beaten path. But women kind of imagine the traditional marriage as a slavery concept, and from a modern perspective, because I honestly, outside of like my most joking self, I don't really want to bring back or institute something like The Handmaid's Tale. Like I would if you make me, so don't make me. But other than that, how do you encourage the marriage scheme? I mean, because you kind of have to remove all the modern avenues for female independence. That's the only way to get them back to that proverbial table. I mean, not that there is a table, but still, like you have to convince them that there is a table worth going to.
Is The Handmaid's Tale really a bad thing? Because when that programming was out, it was only women that were telling me about that program and how they watched it and how good it was, but how mad they were at it. They enjoyed this. Stop acting like they did not enjoy The Handmaid's Tale. I mean, I didn't watch it. Who watched it?
I think more women would enjoy that scenario than they like to admit. But I'm crazy. I think crazy things.
You know what's so crazy? The fact they remake that movie every decade and call it something different. Bro, essentially, okay, with that, right? Essentially, what do we have? A bunch of upperly mobile men in a fraternity that say, yo, we're gonna have our own housing agency for us. It's really for us guys, but you can bring your wife and your kids through. They don't have to pay for anything, everything on us. We're gonna make sure that everybody here becomes a millionaire. It's run by billionaires. All your wife got to do is sit up and fry chicken. And
The original concept, I think, was called the Stepford Wives.
The Stepford Wives, right? And then they made another one called what was the other one called that they made like 3 years ago? They keep remaking the movie, bro. Stepford Wives, Handmaid's Tale. Then they made
my favorite version was from the Mad Max Furiosa movie. Did you see how old boy had all the girls? He had all the hot ones chained up making babies. I was like, that guy's a thinker.
He's R. Kelly without the feds.
No, he dropped
the whole movie was about him getting his beautiful baby makers back. Because without them, what are we even doing here? Because you see the rest of them, all of them are crazy and ugly. Nobody wants them. But I got these skinny blondes. I'm gonna knock them up and make some sons, and we're gonna take over the world. Like he had a plan to rebuild civilization. I respected that guy, whatever his name was.
Bro, America is a country. Do you know how they got white women to come to America?
They was prostitutes, sir. They was supposed to come here.
Right.
What
They brought them here. What do you mean how we got white women to come to America?
they brought them. I mean, the incentive package. Do y'all remember the incentive package to get white women to come?
Jail. It was jail or rope.
No, that must come later when the girl said hell no. The incentive was come to America and find a man. We gonna guarantee he died from malaria within 3 years. You get all this stuff.
So that is what they kind of sold to Sir Walter Raleigh and Charlotte. That Charlotte would get all Sir Walter Raleigh's inheritance once he died, and that's actually what happened.
That's
why Charlotte.
indentured marriage, dude.
That's why
Indentured
Charlotte.
marriage, dude, is
That's why
wild. I like
Charlotte.
it.
That's why Charlotte, North Carolina, will always be way larger than Raleigh, North Carolina, because all the proceedings went to Charlotte, the wife. That is true. That did happen.
Yeah, it was out here, man.
All right,
Selling man. It wasn't even no life insurance, bro. It wasn't no colonial pen back then. It wasn't no life insurance back then, bro.
I'm okay with that. You get the money only after I die. Because, you know, by then I will have instituted a system that you will just have been accustomed to. And the kids will be grown. They're going to be like, Ma, you can't do that. And then, you know, I will have sons or whatever, hopefully. And I'm willing to play those craps. I like those odds.
Me too.
I'm not gonna knock that because I'm dead already. I don't care what happened.
Right, I'm good.
The only thing about those odds, Hood, is that what happens when your wife try to up those odds?
Nah, I mean, I can fight too. Like, you know, I might up them myself. All is fair in love and war, bro. We can
you
play
know
that
what?
game.
Even though Pastor ain't wrong, there's still not a man in on the interweb who's ever lived with a girl who didn't wake up at 2 a.m. and see her looking at him crazy. You got to fight for your life now. Like, man, what was your dream?
Listen, and I'm gonna tell you something, Pastor. That type of woman, if she has that inclination, she is asking to be subdued. I mean, it's just a nonverbal command. You have to acquiesce. You have to subdue, and you can't fail. You're the man. You're not supposed to fail in that moment.
You know what? Brett brings up an interesting point, and this is the real trauma of feminism. Brett said, man, they told them 304s they can have a fresh start if they move to America. Here's how horrible feminism is, sir. That was the American dream, right? You bust down every dude in Chicago, then you move to Atlanta for a fresh start. Except you don't get a fresh start. Then you go down to Atlanta, be a 304. Like, feminism is made it comfortable. They don't even need a fresh start. They just get a continuation.
I mean, that's kind of the Wild West story, though. That, like, excuse me, the idea of how the West was won. I mean, yeah, we had to pop a lot of engines and all that, and that you know, it was good and bad, and you know, it had its moments and all. But that's not how the West was won. Really, the West wasn't settled until the women were brought out. And the first women to really make a way out there were the professionals. And so you had, like, in every Western movie, you'll see the town, and the town will have the brothel, or they'll have that, like, that one rich lady, or she looks rich, but she runs the girls and stuff like that. Like, you'll have that setup. And quiet as kept, this is a low-key part of American culture. Out west, because you would have, like, the professional women that come out there, and then you'd have the older woman in charge of them, you wound up with this phenomenon of wealthy madams who could, like, wield power socially and
the original boss bitches. Just say it, the original boss bitches.
But
I'm trying not to say it. Thank you very much. We're trying to maintain some rules here. We're trying to maintain some stability.
I forgot about the other channel. My bad. Hood. My bad.
No, I got you. I'm not going to charge you money, and I'm just saying, OG girl bosses. That's how it is. We had.
But here's what's so crazy about that, right? Even when you talk about how the West was won, and you talking about professional ladies. That's how the South was conquered. People don't know this. They think it was all war and slavery. No, Native Americans were a matriarchal culture. You even named the kids after the mom. Don't blame this book stuff again. Don't judge me. But so white men were sleeping with Native American, but Native American women were sleeping with everybody because the hoe's gonna hoe, Tyler's gonna title, And then they was screwing their way into the property rights. And you know, the Indian mama was like, "Yo, get you some of that pink weenie," and they were selling out they land because now she pregnant. Oh, you got kids with them? Of course we're gonna give you the land. They did more. It was more, you know, bees from Manhattan type of things going on than it was like get your hand out my pocket. But people don't talk about how Coochie destroyed the Native Americans from Pocahontas down, apparently.
Yeah, I can agree with that being that with that happening. Also, you see that in the black community. You can also see that happening with the white women as well. You know, the women in general were breaking contracts, and that was tearing up land, plantations. It was tearing up everything. And but maybe some of this stuff need to be teared up. But check this right. Those madams out there out west, those were the ones that actually got women their ability to vote. Women got their ability to vote from the madams that went to the men. Well, the madams went to the men with money, and that's how women really got their voting privileges from the madams going to
There you
men.
go.
That and
Nah,
cuckold black
it's a
men.
thing. You see that? Yeah, no, it's a thing too. The last game I was in love with was Red Dead Redemption 2, and that was like a little mini plot line and part of the game. There was the female
Man, that's one of
suffrage
the best
chick.
games of all time, bro. Go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
Nah, but you know, it's just a little known fact of American culture. But yeah, the women came out west professionally, and eventually they would marry guys. You know, the gunslingers eventually wanted to start a farm. They got too old to gunsling forever. You know, it's a common story. You can't hustle your whole life, and they start a farm, and you're not going to marry just any, you know, good girl from a good family because there ain't a lot of those around anyway. And so they would marry those girls from the tavern, and eventually, you got enough people populating that town, and now you got a real town and a real city, and the railroad come through, and all kind of stuff happens, and that's the quiet part of it. But the thing is, it wasn't so much that women didn't have rights in a political sense. There just weren't that many opportunities. I mean, professionally and socially. Like, what were you gonna do back then as a woman other than marry a guy? And all the labor that you would have done domestically is more or less the type of job you would have gotten professionally. Like, you would have wound up being a maid in somebody's house.
I'm offended. Everybody think I'm the wild one on every panel. I'm offended. Anyway, you're right. You're right. So you had, you know how weak black men are. That the whole world knows how weak, how minstrel black men are. That even after women got the right to vote, black women still couldn't vote because they didn't think black men could check them in. Because you had women being able to vote in what 1903 or something like that. And then they had the big council of crayon. That's what I'm calling it, the council of crayon, right? It's like the council of Nicaea, but not quite. And then everybody got to be white because Irish and Mexicans and Italians, they weren't white until the Council of Crayons. And then everybody got to be legally white except the blacks, just to make sure that black girls can vote, among other reasons. But black women couldn't vote to what 1968, and they've been voting their way into poverty ever since.
I think you got your history mixed up. The white chick and the black chick got their rights like around 1920, 1921, and we've been screwed ever since.
No, bro. The black vote, the black woman vote. You can call it the poll tax, whatever. The black women didn't secure their vote to the 1960s. Like white women could do what they wanted to do. Black women really wasn't voting like that, bro. In certain places like Chicago, New York, but like nationwide, not to 1960s, bro. And then the first thing they voted for was projects. I don't know. Don't give me. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up in a minute, but that's kind of the inescapable observation. And then from a political standpoint, it's hard to really bring it up, but it's like the very problem is the fact that as a voting bloc, women are an impediment to the things that need to be done, because what needs to be done is stopping women from voting. That's the giant, like, one-shot silver bullet of so many things.
Well, the only way to do that is to act like we're not happy. See, the only reason why the women vote is because they vote against our happiness every which way it go. If they feel like we got some type of privilege, some type of right, they want to vote it away only for us to feel like we're downtrodden, on our knees, begging them like the simps that we supposed to be. But you know what I'm saying, until we actually admit defeat, and they could be like, all right, you know what I'm saying, we can play along, go along, get along as a master plan to go ahead and get back into their head and get back into being in positions of power. Other than that, yeah, I don't.
I think
Go
the
ahead.
move might be, since the women want to make such a big push to be pro government. I think that as men, we need to maintain the anti-government push, because the original, like when you look at what got America to be really great again for as family dynamics, it didn't technically come from government. I don't understand why the Republicans, the the um the party of small government, is thinking the government can fix this. I think if we want to really make families great again, we have to go anti-government and be more about the
Well,
family than the government.
I wouldn't say anti-government per se, but you're in the right direction. The government can't fix it by getting bigger and doing more. The government can fix it by getting smaller and doing less.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. No, I have no. But I will say this though: when government was smaller, and in nations where government is smaller, but you get to Al 5 Your Girl, they have very few laws and a lot less crime. That just the fact that you get to hold your girl accountable reduces crime, raises literacy rates.
And I think that's actually a great way to frame it, because I've been always criticizing you about your PR issues, Dirty, and Al 5 can be framed a lot better as accountability. And I know it's a lot clumsier, but when it does get brought up from a more tactical standpoint, the issue is socially and legally, men have no leverage, no vehicle by which they can hold women accountable. Women can hold men accountable in ways that we men can't even fathom. Like how can you falsely accuse me of a sex crime like that? It's men can't even get away with that with women, right? Like the whole thing with Shannon Sharp, that's a unique female privilege thing, right? But a huge issue right now is men have no way to hold women accountable at all for anything they do. Like a woman has to really be egregious to even meet the threshold of legal punishment
or social punishment.
Again, that's all through.
There is no social
government.
punishment.
Social punishment will still be through government. In order to
No, I am social punishment. But
right. Social punishment is like, think about how the Mean Girls table is. Like, you can't sit here. We don't mess with you. Nobody talks to you. That doesn't happen with women. Men might get that treatment if you got a bad rep. Like most of the imagine being a guy having a knock on somebody's door and say, "Hey, I just got to tell you that I live here now, and my parole officer said I have to introduce myself because I'm on this list." If you're a woman doing that, it's probably way less intimidating. Like women just don't get the same social stigmas,
and that's why they're the face of the rainbow. They always put a tiny white woman as a face of the rainbow on those speech. They never put the burly truck driver, bearded dude in a dress as the face of the rainbow. But that's what we worry about. We're not worried about the little girl.
Yo, we used to make PR commercials about that. Remember, Dirty? We did a whole thing about that. Yo, the little boys, bro, they was so vicious back in the days. They was wilding back in the days. They had to make commercials. But that little black kid, did he get in the truck, bro? He got in the van or something, bro. That was terrible, man.
Yeah, the 1980s was wild. But for me to check my girl, she'll be totally out of pocket. Totally out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And if I check my girl verbally in the streets, it'll be some strange man I've never met before. But hey, bro, you should be. That's a lady, bro. Don't be yelling, bro.
That's a female,
bro. Now I'm at war with strangers and this chick. Not everybody got to die.
Yeah,
you don't know how to shut up.
With a stranger who might kill you over a woman neither one of you know.
A simp will always defend a 304's honor, even if he don't even get the prize in the end.
Bro, that's the problem right there. But you know what? I think I want to wrap it up on that point because I got to get out of here. I got to get up in the morning, and it's been a little while. We almost at 3 hours, but shout out to everybody that joined the panel tonight. Thank y'all for coming up and chop it up with me. Listen, I'm trying to you notice how when we listen to a lot of these other bigger channels, they be having these big panels and be like,
I hate them.
Well, I hate them too, but I'm trying to keep game, bro. They put out clean, marketable, commercializable content.
Oh, it's corny. That is not what they do.
It's corny, dog. No. They're corny, but I want to do what I want to do the commercial. I want to do a marketable thing here, and that's why I've been trying to keep the language.
I got you. Want to make a safe space, but the reason those channels are big is because they talk to girls with clothes on and try to explain to them.
That's
why
they're corny. But I'm trying to copy the formula, not the recipe. If you feel me.
DOC.
Hey, good luck with that. I don't. I don't. Look. Here's the thing. This is why I don't think
you want to be Hood Daniels. That's what you're trying to be. You want to be FD simplified. I mean, no. You want to be Hood simplified. Signified.
I'm not nigga. Look, conservative is gonna have 1 million subs, nigga.
Look. We can all dream, but the formula really is the chick. Look, bro. I'm like the locks of podcasts. I'm your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. But my subs don't say it. When I pop up, everybody know who Dirty Folks is. The biggest channels, the Anton Daniels, the Angry Mans, the biggest channels know who Dirty Folks is. That doesn't translate to content creation because what people want to hear is both sides. Girls do it too. They want men listen to women about what women want. Ain't that crazy?
That's not even what I'm trying to get up.
I know you're
not. You mentioned the
but
locks, right? Because all I'm pointing out is that when you go into a lot of the big, remember back in the day, because it's not a thing now so much, but they would have big record stores, especially when CDs were out like crazy. They would go like if you went to a big. Yeah, if you went to a big national chain CD store, they would have the clean version of the
like Sam Goody. Remember Sam Goody?
Yeah, Sam Goody.
They would have the clean version of the locks, and I want to be the locks. I still want to be, for YO, but I gotta sell the clean version. I gotta sell the clean version of the record, bro. That's the only way to really get.
I don't begrudge you that. I look. I like the content. Like I've been watching manga for like 3 months, bro. I only pop up on my regular channel and watch it. But with that being said, bro, you don't have a urban translatable show. You don't have a.
I'm not trying to. That's it. I'm not trying to be urban translatable. I want the white kids in Kmart to buy my album.
I'm with you.
You want to go to Beastie Boy route for real?
Hey, I'm with you on that. No, I
am too. You gotta think about this, bro. You gotta no. Seriously, all jokes aside, you actually have to think about this because if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna put so much time into it, try to do it well. And this is my effort. This is me trying to do it well. You feel me?
I can't knock that. I've been trying to cross over. I need a better white friend. Andrew Snowman, that's my guy. I need a better white friend. He's not
you know what? The thing is, see, I've turned my podcast and my channel to
Kmart run away from Snowman. They not the white kids at Kmart. They're not allowed to hang out with Snowman.
Right. They're not. They're like he creepy. He probably trying to sleep with my mom. Like, but I mean, hey. I mean, he know it. Boy got like 17 baby mamas, but I like it. I want to cross over. I want to be. Snowman introduced me to a white channel who talks about liberal issues, which is a lot of black stuff, right? How white people can be better to blacks, right? How they could be better neighbors to blacks, right? And Snowman had
cast. Was it a cast of Friends,
bro? But and I mean this channel, bro. We talking like, bro, no cap, no bull. It's like 1,100 people in the chat, bro. Like at like 1 a.m. Like it's pumping, and I'm listening to their content, bro. And they got a bunch of white women with clothes on talking, and a bunch of really sexually ambiguous men talking like he might be straight, but he really gay friendly, you know. and, and they huge, channel huge. You say some man stuff, man, they'll get him off the panel, kick him off, boo.
Yeah, see, the thing is, though, I know what Hood can do. See, you want to go ahead and get both of that YouTube and Rumble money. So what you're going to have to do is, you got to do 2 streams at one time, but you got to shut down one to continue the other. You got to do the clean content in the beginning.
I'm nowhere near big enough to support the Rumble side, and so like even though I'm on Rumble, my YouTube presence is way more established. Even on my second channel, I just got way more like establishment on my second channel. So with the Rumble thing, it's just always a backup. But what I'm really going for is, you see how you just described like that white channel. I see there is a niche for what I do, because I'm not the only one that does like black conservative kind of content. I may be a little bit more edgy, but I think I see there is a niche to be filled. Nobody does really like live streaming with it. It's all straight up video content. And I know there is a niche to be exploited. And so what I want to do is aim for the niche and exploit it as much as I can. And the live streaming is because nobody else is really live streaming this type of content. That's how I get entry. But I want to actually be able to still do like, I got to get into the video editing game too as well.
I mean, that's racist. Trying to get like me. No, that's racist. Everything he said was racist. He want to exploit and look, bro.
No, he studied.
I have a colonizer mindset, and I will not apologize.
He has studied Mr. Bernays' art of propaganda. He just trying to benefit the most, just like the other small hats. Stop being a hater, Dirty.
Hey, you know, man. I was a tiny hat in my other life, bro. I don't know how I end up with y'all colors.
But I'm talking about this with y'all because I want us, like everybody I like talk to long enough. You know, I want us all to grow together. So I'm kind of like fleshing these ideas out with y'all because I feel like y'all be on my channel a lot. This is why I'm trying to explain what I'm doing.
No,
so
I get it. That's what I'm changing my. I ain't talking about toddlers. I got the whole dirty politics thing now because I want to get into that space that people can see me as an expert, and that's all it is. Popularity makes you an expert.
There you go. Now we're talking, and
like, because I don't personally, and look, no disrespect to Anton Daniels, man. Much respect, much love to him. I don't think he's really an expert on nothing.
Man, fuck Anton.
I ain't saying F do it or nothing.
Who's an expert up here, bro? Most of the people on YouTube are not experts, but the potential is so huge, and so it's like I don't care about expertise. I care about the actual craft of this art right here, and because who's an expert? What is he an expert at? Most people doing this stuff are just people.
They agents. I ain't trying to hear that. You call them people, I call them agents.
Nah, bro, because I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. It wasn't until I got to the YouTubery streets. You know, I never watched videos that people do about me. Like people make videos about me, like F30 folks, all the time. I've never watched one. I ain't gonna watch you talk bad about me because then I have to retaliate. But I never knew it was a whole subgenre of YouTubers making videos and roasting other YouTubers, and this is how they get their buzz to create the influx and flow of how you perceive another YouTuber. And all I do is tell them to spell my name right. But I don't care. You know what I'm saying? That's how I got introduced to Pastor. I pulled up on his channel. We was doing a 4-hour stream about me. Like, he wore a pink shirt. He must be gay. And I'm like, yo, spell my name right, bro. Tag me next time. Let me know you're doing a show about me. I ain't saying nothing else
about. I'm trying to watch other people, other types of content, and understand the little hidden maneuvers that people are making, so I can maybe incorporate certain things and all that. But anyway,
that's gay. That's gay, bro. Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna steal everything, but I'm just trying to learn more.
No, I'm talking about the roaster. That's the art. The art for black.
I'm not doing the roaster.
Hey, man, that's my lane. I'm roasting everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm roasting you. These chicks, these simps. Hell, even the elderly and the kids can get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have.
I'm not gonna fight you on on your lane. If that's your lane, own it. You know what I'm saying? But we all got to figure out like what it is that we do and then maximize it. That's
Look,
all we talk
I
about.
am a misanthrope. I am a misanthrope, to quote another, and I'm a comedian now. So to quote W.C. Fields, I hold no personal prejudice against anybody. I hate everyone equally. Okay.
We go. You know what? I'm about to hop off. It's tequila time. But yo, you know what, Mr. O, we're gonna have to do something together like in real life, bro. I saw the little cigarette commercial. Can I get a short? We're gonna have to do something, bro. You gonna have to get one of these dirty folk skits, bro. We gonna put you on an AdSense ad, bro. We're gonna make you somebody.
Yeah, man, this AdSense life is dope. And I want you to get in on it, man. Dirty Folks, you was here way before me, and I had it for a minute, and I lost it because I didn't really care about it at the time. Now I care. Now it's like a baby I just had, and so I wanted to grow up and develop and become a man.
Bro, you got it out the mud. I knew 3 popular people, and it was like subscribe to Dirty Folks, and I got to 1,000 like in 3 months. I was,
Oh yeah,
but
I did get it out the mud.
you got the other. I'm at 2,000. Now the other second 1,000, bro. That was that was a lot of videos. But the first 1,000, it was like, look out for your boy. It's like, all right.
Let me tell you, though, I love the work though. That's what really kind of makes it.
I used to love the work, bro. I don't feel the reciprocity. You know what happens, right? Everybody think you crazy until it happens, and then they be like, you're a prop.
Bro.
So like people now, they be like, oh, you listen to podcasts, you a red pillar. Mr. O, I tell you, you've been my Facebook friend for like 15 years, bro. Have I not always been on this?
Man, you've been likewise. Have I always been on this?
Bro, Mr. O told me he met me in real life. I don't even remember. He was like, man, you was cool as hell, though. You gave me some game. Then you was the same way in real life you was online, man. Because, bro, I live this life, bro. Like, I smash.
Man, you know how big Inglewood is, bro? I mean, how small Inglewood is, bro? We could have bumped each other too many times, bro. You could have been on 63rd and Ashland, same first and Halstead.
I ain't gonna name drop because they hate when we do the Chicago thing.
Authenticity sells, bro. And if you got something real that people like, selling it is easy. It's like selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? It sells itself at that
You know
point.
the crazy thing, bro? The craziest thing is people think I don't think women come in black, but my body count is so crazy that when people go through their situation, I ain't got to meet your girl to know exactly what happened. Because I've been in every dysfunctional situation you can ever be with a Keisha. I've seen it all.
We gonna stop before we diverge.
So I ain't gonna diverge into that. My whole thing is, so then when you tell me that and you say, well, man, there's a good one, or there's you start thinking as a man, right? As a man, you start thinking of solutions like, what am I doing wrong? Because the first thing they tell you is it's your fault, you didn't choose right, blah blah blah. So the first thing you do is say, what am I doing wrong? And you go down the checklist. You solve for, you're supposed to solve for X, right?
Yep.
So you like, I'm solving for
Why?
X.
You supposed to solve for well, hold on.
Either variable, right?
Right.
You be like, yo, I'm solving for X, but I don't know what Y is. So you're telling me X plus Y equals paradise, but I don't have X or Y. So now I got to solve for one of them. One of them had to be a static. So once you figure out what the static is, and you be like, hold on. First of all, you can blame baby boomers, but then you be like, yo, all this comes from. You start reading those scrolls accidentally, the Pocahontas stories, and how 90% of slave plantations were owned by women by the 3rd generation, because all the men left it to their favorite piece of trim. And you be like, yo, how's that?
No, let me jump in. Yeah, Mr. O, you got a little issue.
Oh no, I was just my bad. I was just looking at some little TikTok video. I'm about to go live on the next. I could go live right now. Sex, freedom, money, and God.
Don't fire up, Mr. O, because I'm getting out of here right now. And I was gonna say though that we right now, and this is just me, my little ego, but we right now actually kind of have the opportunity to take these ideas and push them into a larger space, right? Because that's actually what I like about this whole platform, especially YouTube, because of all the platforms, the Twitch and the TikTok and the Rumbles and all that. YouTube is like the biggest thing. All the other ones are kind of smaller lakes and ponds and whatever, but YouTube is the biggest thing, and you can kind of take a lot of ideas and push them out into the world on YouTube. And so it's on us to hone the craft and do as much as we can with it. So that being said, gentlemen, I will talk to you guys later. Appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you, everybody who supported the show. Thank you to all the listeners tonight. I appreciate everybody who came through. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the Rumble audience. You guys are awesome. We're going to have to do some Rumble exclusive content pretty soon. Maybe tomorrow. I got a lot of content. I've been gearing up for a random acts of blackness type of show. I don't even think I'm gonna put that on my monetized channel at all. I might just go straight up main channel and Rumble. I don't even think I'm gonna try to monetize that one at all, because it's, you know, maybe a little bit, but I know there's too much profanity in a lot of these clips. I might try to figure it out. But we're gonna do random acts of blackness, and we're gonna get Rumble exclusive, because, you know, I love my Rumble audience too. We gotta be loyal to a lot of people. You know, but it's all one family. That's the good part about it. But shout out to everybody listening. Thank y'all so much for supporting. Shout out to the new church members. Everybody's getting their memberships to Church of Misogyny gifted. Shout out to all the gift givers. Thank you so much for spreading the word. The church grows because of you guys. Thank you so much. We are done, though. Have a good night. I will catch you later.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help black people.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.